Good morning, Nigeria. Welcome back to the 9 o'clock hour right here on Rapid Dawn. And as always, it's time for the big conversation. My name is Mata Alu.
And my name is Victor. Okay, welcome to the big conversation today. And of course, we're getting ready to dive into the conversation that we have outlined for you today. We are living in interesting times, especially when it comes to politics here in our country, Nigeria. I mean, politicking has become a major issue for us in this part of the world. We recall that last weekend, the APC concluded their primaries, and of course, they've given the president a return ticket, which is, of course, that he is going to be contesting for the presidential election con 2027. The rancors in the APC is just there, but the PDP, we don't really understand what's going on within the PDP, as Makinde's bloc, Makinde actually declared his intention to be president. Recall that as well, aligning with APM, PDP, APM together in the southern region of Nigeria. And whilst they are still calling for Goodluck Jonathan to also come contest, for the election. And of course, today, ADC, they're getting ready for their primaries. What is going to be the outcome? This and more we are going to be finding out, of course, as the program progresses this morning. Interesting time again, like I said, for the political season and terrain of our country, Nigeria.
Very interesting times, like you've said, and honestly, not just I think a lot of Nigerians are waiting to see who emerges as the official flag bearer and ticket holder for the ADC, especially because that entire thing has come with a lot of contention. And now, not too long ago, a room full of Nigeria's most consequential opposition figures sat together and made a promise to this country. Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, Nasir El-Rufai, Rotimi Amechi, Rabiu Kwankwaso, who recently joined, of course, Rauf Aregbesola. One platform, one mission is to unseat the APC in 2027 and give Nigeria a fighting chance. That was of July 2025. Today, less than a year later, Peter Obi is gone. Kwankwaso has joined. 17 lawmakers defected in 48 hours. A party that had 24 members in the House of Representatives now has 6. And as of yesterday, there are now 2 factions of the ADC, both claiming to be the real party. And yet, this very morning, the ADC is holding its presidential primaries. Atiku Abubakar, who has chased his presidency 6 times, paid 90 million naira for his nomination form. The votes will be cast this morning. So the question before us this morning is not simply about a political party in crisis. It's about something far more consequential. Whether Nigeria's opposition, in its current fractured litigation-ridden, ego-driven state, is even capable of offering this country a credible alternative. Nigerians are dying, businesses are shutting down, the lights are off, and the people who want to govern us cannot even agree on who should lead them. My guest this morning, or our guest this morning, is one of the key players inside of the ADC. Mobilizing the youths, to come out and give support to whoever emerges today. We have with us today Mr. Blessing. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning.
Hello, Mr. Blessing. Good morning to you and welcome.
Mr. Ezeokoli Blessing, it's good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you so much, Martha. Thank you, Victor, for having me this morning. Welcome. And good morning, Nigeria. Thank you.
All right. Before we get on to talking about this entire primaries thing, I remember the last time we had you in the studio here, you sounded very hopeful about, that summit, or how is it called, that happened in Ibadan. You were so hopeful about that summit and, what it had for the ADC and the promising future of that for Nigerians. Haven't seen the exit of Peter Obi, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. We have, a number of exits from the party, like I did read out here this morning. I'd love to know what your stance about that unity and fielding of a particular candidate. I'd like to know where you stand on that this morning.
Thank you so much, Martha. I'm still very hopeful. As you can see, I'm very excited this morning to be on the show. So the summit, the Ibadan summit, was about the opposition political parties fielding one single presidential candidate, and there's nothing stopping that. There's nothing stopping that from still happening today. Alliances can still be formed. People can still sit down in the room and have conversation. The fact that His Excellency Mr. P2B and His Excellency Rabi Musa Kwankwaso moved to a different platform doesn't really mean that the opposition parties can still not work together. As at the time the Ibadan summit happened, recall that there was still PDP, right? We still had PDP. We still had, I think I was in the studio with a PDP member
Yes, you
basically
were.
on that day, and PDP, yes, and the PDP was still, they are still existing as at today. So for us, the reality is that the opposition political parties realizes, we know that to unseat the APC, we must fuse our energies together at some point, one way or the other, whether by way of alliance, whether by way of merger, or however you want to say it. But I'm still very hopeful that the conversation is still ongoing, by the way. So it has not been dumped. The only thing is that most political parties are currently engaged in their party primaries. So everybody is trying to field candidates in different places, senatorial elections, gubernatorial candidates, and all of that. So the possibility of alliance is still there for presidential elections.
Okay.
That's it.
Regardless of the exit of these lawmakers,
Yeah, it
because
doesn't
it's
matter.
not just one person that left. He left with a number of people from within the party as well.
That's what I'm saying. In 2023 election, I remember the current ADC actually endorsed His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi. There was an alliance between Labour Party and the ADC in 2023 election. The ADC didn't merge with Labour Party, but they aligned,
Okay.
right, on presidential elections, even though they fielded candidates in other, this thing. So it's the same thing. All the opposition party can decide tomorrow that they are going to vote for one person as the presidential candidate for the opposition, and that is where we are headed to. Right, both APM, both PDP can say this is our presidential candidate. All the party will come together, align, and agree that this person, we are all voting for this person for presidential election. So it can still happen, and I'm very, very hopeful. And I know that our leaders, sitting down behind the scene, they are having that conversation at the moment. Thank you so much.
We're looking forward to seeing the outcome of that, anyways, Carl, because again, you're sounding very hopeful, and you've affirmed that you're very hopeful. Now, today, the ADC, you're going to be having your primaries, both for presidency, governorship, and every other seat that is available within the ADC. And very recently, we've seen that Atiku Abubakar has purchased his form to be part of the primaries. Hayatuddin, the same thing. Rotimi Chibika Mechi has also purchased his form, for that basically. Now, looking at these big wigs that have gotten their form to run for the office of president, of course, first of all, to get the approval from the party if any of them emerges as primary for the primary election, basically. Looking at the three of them, not agreeing for a consensus, what do you actually make of that, between these three individuals in your party going head to head today?
I mean, it's a good thing. Basically, it shows that ADC is basically the only democratic party in Nigeria at the moment, because what this means, having three very eminently qualified Nigerians gunning for the ticket of the party, and the party had decided to hold, presidential primaries across board, is a good thing. This is what we want to see. This is the processes. When you go through this kind of process, it refines you, right? Even as a candidate. So, as a young party member, I am very excited, that we are going this route. Not situation where party leaders will have to force somebody and say, oh, this is a consensus candidate, oh, nobody should contest, blah, blah, blah. No. I mean, this is the kind of policies we want to see, because at the end of the day, you're going to go into general elections. So if you're not able to compete, at the primaries level, it makes it difficult for you to be able to, also, come out. We need very competitive. For me, as far as I'm concerned, 2027 is going to be very competitive, right? Largely because the ruling party hasn't done well, and the Nigerians are tired of this particular APC. So if you're going to defeat these people with all the structures that they've got, all the money they have available to them, so you need somebody that has a very the mentality, like you have to be very competitive, you understand, for you to be able. So I like the fact that everybody has agreed that we should go to the field, and then all our party members are gearing towards. Everybody is almost going out now to go and vote, and myself, and I will also be going out to go and vote for my personal preference to pick the ticket as well. So yeah, it's a good thing, and we are hopeful. My only hope as a person is that the party ensures that the process is free, transparent, and credible. So we don't have a lot of cracks in the party, beyond this. That's my only hope.
All right.
And so far, the party has assured everybody that it's going to be transparent. So once that happens, then it gives us the opportunity for us to go into the main election itself, and then and win it possibly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking about cracks in your party, we know that the primaries will be held today, which means that it is one faction of the ADC that will be conducting that. In fact, hold on. The numbers are there, the data is there. Yesterday, Dumebi, right? Kachuku, had a convention yesterday. ADC claims to be, the ruling ADC, of course, had a national working committee there and everything. I know whenever conversations like this come up, you guys claim that you don't have a faction within the party. But let's look at this convention that was held yesterday, and let's look at the primaries and some other obstructions that have happened in places like Kaduna State.
Martha, so are you not entertained? Well, I am, honestly. I'm super entertained by what happened yesterday. First of all, even as a party, as a political party, we could not afford to do a live coverage of our convention the last time. So you can imagine an individual that had, the money to do a live coverage on Arise yesterday. That's to tell you that this person is not operating alone. So to start with, we don't have any faction. Do you know how you know factions, right? The INEC is the umpire that regulates political party. And if you go to the INEC website at the moment and you look for ADC leadership, you're going to see the leadership of ADC. And that is not in contention at the moment. Yeah, there's a case by Nafi Bala, which I think is almost about to withdraw, because even behind the scene, the matter has been resolved. It's okay for some people to have reservations, to have issues, but there's a constituted authority. The truth of the matter is that the leadership of David Mark is the only leadership of ADC. The processes that brought Senator David Mark to power was followed and monitored by INEC. Do you understand? Every single thing was done the right way. And what you simply have is a situation where the government in power has seen that ADC is the future. ADC is the only political party that stands a chance to pose a threat to them. So it is understandable that they are using all kinds of funny characters, to try to, cause, try to, how do I put it, like, cause confusion here and there. But we are focused as a party. I mean, I'm not sure anybody in the party, anybody that knows ADC, like a member of ADC, is losing sleep over what happened yesterday. It was all over everywhere on the media, but we are really not, genuinely not bothered at all. The case we had that, some of us were bothered at some point was the case of Nafi Bala saying that, his signature was formed and all of that. But he had come to confess behind the scene that all of those things, were being engineered. But they have left him already. And that's why you no longer hear about the case now. So it's now maybe Kachuku, whom we know very well is a very funny character. But that's by the way. Like I said, the party is not interested in what happened yesterday. We are going to do our primaries today, and hopefully a credible candidate emerges, somebody that we are all able somebody that is able to provide alternatives to Nigerians to what APC is currently offering. And for me, that's what matters. That's what matters to us as a
all three candidates. You made mention of the fact that you're going to present your candidates today, of course, which will be at the polls. So let's do a span of all three candidates that would be contesting at the primaries today. We have Hayatuddin, we have Rotimi Amechi, and we have Atiku Abubakar. And you made mention of credible candidates. First, when we were reading the intro, you could see that he had contested 6 times to be president. And the narrative that ADC is fielding right now is power being given to the credible people, not about ambition, it is about the people. But for a person who has contested 6 times for a presidential election, can you confidently say that it is not about ambition to that person? It is about actually pushing the narrative of saving Nigerians, like you claim, from the hands of the APC. We also have a Hayatuddin who, we haven't seen so much participation, especially when it comes to presidential elections from, and then we have a Rotimi Amechi, who was a member of the APC while he was Minister of Transport. In fact, I did see a recent post of him, on the blogs where he spoke about if you do not stand up against the politicians and stone them, they would not stop stealing. Such a comment coming from your presidential candidate. All of these 3 people now, do you really think that they are befitting candidates to run for presidency here in Nigeria, following their trajectories as individuals?
Okay, so I'm going to start with the first person you mentioned, which is Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. I have massive respect for him, eminently qualified. At some point, the vice president of this country for 8 years. That's such... there are a few persons that have had the opportunity to be the number 2 man in the country, right? And so if you want to go by that, you can say that he is super qualified to be the president. And when you say he has contested for 6 times, or he has, actually aspired for 6 times, because he didn't get the ticket for the 6 times, he only aspired, right? The truth of the matter is that aspiration, somebody aspiring to be anything in life, shouldn't be seen as a bad thing. That's the truth. So let's not demonize people for having ambition. For me, what is important is what is fueling your ambition, right? What's the reason why you want to be president? For me, that's far much more fundamental to me than the number of times you have actually contested, right? So for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, I believe he has his reasons for wanting to be president. So let him speak to Nigerians and tell Nigerians why he wants to be president. And hopefully, maybe he's able to convince our party members today to vote for him. And of course, we are going to see all of that later today. Talking about Amechi, I consider Amechi very... he's a very, maybe to a large extent, I can claim that he's the most qualified, really, if you're looking at governance from a very holistic point of view, right? Being that he's been, a lawmaker, not just a lawmaker, but a speaker, for 8 years. So which means he understands the act of lawmaking. He understands lobbying, right? He understands how to navigate issues around, things that needs to be amended in terms of laws to be able to give people good governance. He's also been held executive powers as a governor for 8 years in Rivers State. If you go to Rivers, I think that's one thing that we can all agree that he did pretty well as a governor in Rivers State. Then if you go to he was also a minister.
The Rivers man will be able to decide that, because that's
maybe yes. So there's also he was also a minister. So which means he has also worked under presidency, like he has also executed at the national level. So he also has an idea of what it looks like to execute, projects at that level as Minister of Transportation, and that had, in my opinion, he did reasonably well. So I think Amechi is also very qualified to be the president of Nigeria, to be fair to him. And then you have Mohammed Hayatuddin, who, again, from the private sector point of view, arguably the person with the deepest understanding of economics, having been the chairman of Nigerian Summit Group, which basically is a coming together of the top dogs as far as economics is concerned in Nigeria. So he has managed big corporations, right? Like the Ariwa Corporation. So this is a man that is coming in with over 40 years real economics, like building and expanding conglomerates. So he understands. This is somebody you can also argue that this person understands economy deeply. And where Nigeria is at the moment, we are in quagmire economically. So we need somebody with very clear understanding of economics to be able to take us from where we are. But let me say this. I think that what I'm praying for again is that we have a free and fair election, not just free and fair election, but seen to be free and fair, so that they can able to come out together from this process, agreeing to work together. I mean, I'm not so fixated on who amongst the three of them that emerges, to be very honest. Yeah. And so any of them that emerges, what is important is that they work as a team, because this, right, and which I believe that Nigeria would have to tap into at this point, or whoever becomes the president will must have to tap in from. So you need the three of them working together, and that is why I'm hoping that our primaries today becomes free and fair, so that they all stick together in the same platform, and then we can go and sell our party to Nigerians. But however, I also need to point out that look, ADC is the future of politics in Nigeria, and I mean, I don't know how to say this, but every single person that is,
we'll get to that point just the
that
moment,
thinks beyond today.
We'll get to that point, Chimezie, because whilst you were talking, you made a few points. First off, you said every time, because Martha did read out to you that Atiku Abubakar has contested 6 times, and you said in your words that it was all ambition, and for the 6 times he never got the ticket. Was there ever a time since you started hearing about Atiku Abubakar's contesting that he never got the ticket for the primaries in the party that he belonged to, from the PDP?
No, of course. No, of course. So he aspired in 1993.
Yes.
For instance, he didn't get the ticket under the SDP. He didn't get the ticket. It was Abiola that eventually got the ticket.
Oh, that's
right?
Yeah.
That's one. So it's part of the contesting that people are talking about, right? He has only gotten the ticket actually 3 times as a candidate. That's the time he has been a candidate in Nigeria.
All right.
So he aspired in 2011. He didn't get the ticket. He contested in 2007 as a candidate under AC, right? Then the 2 times he has also gotten the ticket of recent is 2019 under the PDP and 2023 under the PDP.
Yeah.
Every other time has always been him contesting or aspiring, but he didn't get it. So, like I said, it's not must that Atiku. I mean, if he has his way, if he is able to convince our people to vote for him today, he will pick the ticket. But if he doesn't, another person will.
All right. You also mentioned that in your words that you are hoping that the primaries will be free and fair. Are there indications that might suggest otherwise, that these primaries might not be free and fair?
Honestly, at the moment, right, our primaries, I mean, the House of Assembly, the House of Reps, the gubernatorial election, the senatorial primaries across board has been largely peaceful. And personally, as a party member, I am genuinely surprised, because I know that.
So why are you surprised that it's been peaceful?
No. When I say I'm genuinely surprised, I know that, I mean, in our country, we know that people are too used to not doing the right things, right? So you will always give room for situations where people don't do the right thing, right? But this time around, largely, I have friends, right? I have some of my friends that currently contested across board, and then they come back with feedbacks that, look, I mean, so far the process has been transparent. Yeah, we have people came out and actually voted for this person. Oh, I didn't pick the ticket, but somebody else picked, and most of them have accepted largely. This. But yes, you will always leave room for 1 or 2, problems here and there. So in some cases, I think maybe in Kaduna, right, there are a few disagreements, right. There's also a few disagreements in Nasarawa State and all of that after yesterday. However, the bottom line is that largely, right, across board, it's been peaceful. I mean, if you're having issues maybe in 5 states out of 36 states, for me, I think, I mean, in the Nigerian context, that is a huge pass. Especially where we know that most political players will want to impose people on. Look at other parties. How many of them are actually going through this extensive, apart from maybe APC, right? Which even in their own case, there's a lot of imposition here and there. Governors coming to adopt somebody as their preferred candidate and all of that, and influencing the person's emergence. So aside the APC that has done something similar, ADC is actually the only party at the moment that has largely demonstrated capacity to be democratic, and it's something that I'm really, really, really happy about.
Okay. Speaking about democracy, I would just like to ask more questions around your candidates. Because you have said time and again that you have the most credible candidates, and this party has the capacity to represent Nigeria, the presidential level, and what have you. Now let's talk about the internal democracy. Let's talk about how do they call it? Is this sportsmanship in sports? Do you think that whatever the outcome of today's primaries will be, do you think that all three candidates have the ability to reconcile with whoever emerges? Because we have had issues of internal crisis within the ADC. Do you think that all three candidates from within the party has what it takes to honor whatever decision the people seemingly make today at the polls?
Okay, so they have all given their words. If you follow the last interview by His Excellency Rotimi Amechi,
okay,
and even the last one His Excellency Alhaji Atiku Abubakar attended, they all give their word that they are going to. I'm also, the last time that we had a town hall meeting with Alhaji Mohammed Hayatuddin, he also mentioned that anybody that emerges in a free and fair process, that they are all going to back. They have all made that commitment, right? And that is why, again, I am just more or less using this platform to appeal to all our leaders, the electoral committee, to ensure that nobody is cheated, to ensure that everybody, gets the opportunity to compete without anybody imposing anybody, without anybody manipulating anything. Let our party members decide who should pick the ticket. I am sure that if the process is free, everybody will work together. That I am 100% sure about. They have already made the commitment. Yes.
All right, because you keep saying if and if. But of course, we do hope that the process becomes free and fair, basically. We heard Amechi talk one time, and he said he is the most qualified amongst all of the candidates that has been projected now for the primaries right now. Talking about Atiku Abubakar, talking about Hayatuddin. Amechi says he's the most qualified and he's the youngest amongst all of that. Do you agree with that particular narrative that he is the most qualified?
He made mention of that,
Well,
from the
start. I think I even alluded to it when I was speaking earlier. When I talked about his experience, right? I consider him very experienced, very qualified, largely because of his legislative experience. I mean, if you understand what happens in houses of assemblies, the kind of politics you need to play to navigate, especially as a speaker and all of that, then you have an idea why I think that Amechi is super qualified, right?
Yeah.
So there's no politics they want to play in National Assembly that he has not played. So he understands how to navigate and build consensus and all of that, right? But again, that's not to say that that any other person that picks the ticket or that any other person is not qualified as well. Like I said, there are a few persons that have had the opportunity to be vice president in this country. You can count them. So it's not an easy feat for somebody. And not just that Atiku was a vice president, he was actually a super vice president, because the president has actually ceded his powers to him at some point. So you can say that he has been a president of this country at some point. Does that make sense to you? Like, he has been the person that cuts the shot and that decides what happened in the country at some point.
You can say that as well. You can say that as well, to Yemi Osibanjo, who as well the president also ceded power to him whenever the president
traveled. Exactly. He did that very briefly, anyways, for Osibanjo. But Atiku had an extended time. The cabals around the Buhari government at the time didn't really give Professor Yemi Osibanjo enough time for him to act, and he only acted once as a president. But Alhaji Atiku Abubakar did that multiple times, right? Especially in their first tenure. I mean, he had a lot of time where OBJ was traveling around, meeting the world leaders, building consensus for people to support Nigeria. So Atiku Abubakar was in the country, managing the country at the time. So you can say that, he's acted as president for so long. So I believe that he's also very qualified, to do the job. So, I mean, let's see what happens. Let's see who picks the ticket. I'm really excited, and I'm hopeful that whichever of them that picks the ticket, we are all going to go all out.
All right.
And support.
But there's a school of thought which you had briefly made mention of today that said the split between these parties and what is currently going in the ADC is what exactly what President Tinubu wanted. In fact, the last time we had you here, you also made mention of the fact that, some of these back and forth and this rivalry between political parties is being fueled by the APC, which is the ruling party. Now, just like 2023, according to them, if that analysis is correct, then the ADC and the NDC together have already handed over a second term. What is your response to this school of thought?
Well, I don't entirely agree, largely because the possibility of ADC and NDC and PDP and all other parties working together in 2027 is still very high, at least from what I know. So, yes, it's still very high for presidential elections, right? It's still very high. So
you keep emphasizing presidential election, but that's not the only election that happens. So why?
No. So let me tell you, every political party will want to win senatorial elections, will want to win House of Assembly elections, will want to win. You understand? So, for example, at the moment, NDC has an edge in southern Nigeria. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. So NDC will definitely want to produce, as a political party, they want to produce senators, they want to produce House of Rep members, they want to produce. ADC, my party, has an edge in the north, right? So we are not going to merge, but we are going to align for presidential elections. I don't know if this makes sense to you. Mm-hmm. So we can adopt, for example, so let's assume that the ADC, for example, at some point says, okay, guys, you know what? Let us endorse NDC presidential candidates, right, for the election. That does not mean that our senatorial candidates and our House of Rep members and everything will not go into the polls and contest, right? Mm-hmm. What that means is that when it comes to the presidential election, we, the ADC members, will vote for NDC. Okay. Likewise, if the NDC adopt ADC candidates, they will vote for us on the presidential elections, and then vote for whoever they want, or their candidates for every other position. That's how it works, and that's what we are hoping eventually happens at some point.
So if I'm getting you correctly now, this split is inconsequential to your alignment for the presidential election come 2027.
Yes, the alignment is still 100% on course. I mean, the Ibadan summit still stands, and and hopefully, again, it's still, because you can't rule anything out. Some politicians can be arrogant; they wouldn't want to even sit down and talk. But at the moment, I'm happy that conversations are going on. People are talking right behind the scene. Mm-hmm. Like Governor Sheyi Makinde went to APM. Mm-hmm. You have Dati and Donald Duke in PRP. So we have the SDP. We are all still talking. There's an accord, with Governor. There's a Labour Party with Governor Alex Oti. All of us are still talking.
All right. And let me just interject, Mr. Ezeokoli Blessing. You are talking about working together, working together, aligning and what have you. But as we speak, there was an obedient movement that came from supporting Peter Obi. And in fact, a lot of drama has been in between, with a certain person claiming to be the starter of that movement and expelling Peter Obi, which of course is the sole reason of starting the obedient movement, right? We have
the spelling changed as well.
The spelling changed. Exactly. We have an ADC Young Leaders Forum, as we speak, fielding together young people in support of the ADC's political party. And just last week, Thursday, there was a new movement that was also introduced. I want you to speak to us about this, because if you claim that these political parties will align, why do we see different movements springing up from each of these political parties? Speak to us about it.
Okay, so first, so the question of somebody spelling P2B is laughable. I mean, it's the funniest thing I've seen on the internet, as far as I'm concerned, especially recently. So I'm not interested in that. The guy is a clown. Obedient movement is largely a P2B's vehicle for his ambition. And the movement is intact, led by Dr. Eunice Atanko. And, the obedient movement is actually working. A lot of young, passionate Nigerians are in the obedient movement working so hard to see the election of His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi. So anybody telling you that they've expelled Obi and they formed, so what actually happened was that the individual went and registered obedient, right? Obedient. And then he now claims that that is the obedient movement. So is his personal property. Nobody cares about it. It's not about coming up with a name. It's about the people driving it. So the individual is not consequential. Now, talking about the ADC Young Leaders Forum. So ADC Young Leaders Forum, it initially was supposed to be a clearinghouse for all the different components of the political party. At the time, His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi and Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso was still in the party. So we had the Kwankwashia movement members, we had the Obedience, we have members of Erufai team, we had Articulates, we had Tambua, Lalaji Tambua, we had Amechi people, we had Muhammad Hayatuddin supporters, young people coming together, right? Because the idea was for us to ensure that we are on the same page, that the party becomes what drives the whole movement and not an individual, right? So that is what the ADC Young Leaders Forum was about. Now, you made mention of Rise Up Niger movement, which I'm part of the founders. So the Rise Up Niger movement is actually the vehicle that will drive the ADC campaign going into 2027 election. The Rise Up Niger movement is simply what, if you look at the launch, the pictures, the clips from the launch, you see party leaders, like the founder of ADC, Chief Ralph Musu. You see the MPS, the National Publicity Secretary Bolaji, Abdullahi. You will see leaders in the party like Dr. Kashim Imam. Now, all of these people have sat down to say, look, we need a driver. We need a house for the young people to drive the campaign. So the movement is actually like, that's the driver of the campaign for us, and it's about the party, not about any individual, right? That's the difference. So the obedient movement is about His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi. If you notice, if Mr. Peter Obi is not on the ballot, the movement struggles to deliver results for anybody because it's centered around him, right? But this Rise Up Nigeria movement is about ADC, the ideals of the party, what the party stands for, right? So it's going to be, you're going to see new leaders, new emerging leaders are going to be the faces of ADC campaign. It's not going to be the typical kind of campaign and all of that. So what the Rise Up Nigeria movement?
All right, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Let's let you go and attend to the primaries, and we do hope to have further conversations with you after the primaries, so we can as well get to understand some of the happenings within the primaries. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Mata and Victor.
All right, enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because all these drivers.
Right. I'm looking forward to the outcome of the primaries, basically. And he said something about, first, the obedient movement being centered on the person. Of course, you don't expect to be centered on any other thing but the individual, because first, the movement was named,
obedient after the
individual. Now, going to the other party, the Rise of Nigeria, you talked about, now that's more structural, because now it's about the party, no longer about the individual. What that means is that the supporters, from that movement would not be supporters of the party, basically. But again, just like I've said, fingers across to see the outcome, first of all, of the primaries today. Are they going to work together despite whoever emerges as the presidential candidate rather for the ADC, and that's what I'm looking forward to seeing.
And something you said about the Rise Up Nigeria being a movement that is not about an individual but about a political party. But that's why the ADC Young Leaders Forum was made, because all of this change of names, and it will be interesting to note that some obedience left the obedience movement and joined the ADC Young Leaders Forum, because Peter Obi had left Labour Party, which of course the obedience were pushing for, and moved to the ADC with Peter Obi, which means that the obedience in itself right now is being split. Some in the ADC, some now obedient. And now we are leaving all of these machineries. And the reason for this question is, he has said time and again that we are going to align. But if we are going to align, why don't we use the machineries that we already have on ground rather than starting up a newer one for the alignment?
Right. Well, I'm hoping that these are not just political statements anyways. But again, those are his words. He's a member of the party, and he said from what he is seeing. Again, we're here to observe all of the happenings within the party, and as much as possible, we'll keep our viewers updated on them.
Definitely. Thank you so much for joining us on the conversation this morning. We had Ezeokoli Blessing from the ADC, and our conversation was basically about whether or not the ADC can survive the battle of ambitions between their candidates. All three of the candidates would have to decide that, or we will find out right after the primaries. We definitely update you on that tomorrow. Remember that we are active across social media platforms, on Facebook, on Instagram, on X. It is at Rapid TV rather, at Rapid TV for social media platforms. On our YouTube page, it is at official Rapid TV. www.rbnradiotv.com allows you to connect with us from anywhere in the world. Once again, thank you. My name is Martha Alu.
And my name is Victor. Okay, we will see you tomorrow.